Bike is done. I rode it around the block last night. Initial impressions, the seat is really low. As I was mentioning before, even with this much exposed collar, at 200 mils of drop, the bike is still too short. Another thing that I kind of had issues with is because it's internal routed, the cables need to be extremely long. So the original shift cable don't work. Let me put this thing to stand up. I had to use the full length. So the full length of this routing into here, I didn't have to cut or trim anything. But that also leads to the back brake holes being too short. Like, it still worked, but I would like it to be 3 inches longer. I mean, we ordered more, so we're gonna have to reroute it again, but it should be much easier once I have the original cable routed in there. But that really pissed me off, and being how annoying it was to make it that tight, because normally most bikes, the cable routing goes under here, straight on the seat tube, seat stays, I mean top tube, seat stay, and then the caliper would sit here. This is like this whole convoluted thing. It's not even worth it, to be honest with you. I weighed it also. Bike as this build, it's got some lightweight stuff like an XT cassette, raceface cranks, got the Lyrik on there, Nukeproof Horizon wheels with a tire insert, full 27.5. This bike weighs 30.5 pounds, so that's actually quite light. Much lighter than expected. It felt heavier than that. I will be taking it today at Cunningham, see how this thing jumps, feel the compliance of this thing with better components. So I'll keep you posted. All right, I should be able to get my speed going into it. Top really want it to wash out. Damn it, it's so freaking, but this thing just fucking rips. Made it all the way up here. All right, gonna hit that drop. Hopefully I have enough speed here. Because you bleed all speed by the time you get to the top. Oh my God, that's such a... That was such a harsh landing. But, like I said, even full suspension bikes land that thing hard. All right, back to dropping in. It doesn't have the, this thing rides really good thing from the Ragley's. Oh, that was too smooth. But it doesn't have the bone jarring ride that the Common Saw is known for too. Yeah, it took that part pretty decently. I didn't feel ankles like shocked or anything like that. I cased a shit ton of jumps today because they revamped their entire jump line, so have to figure out the jumps one more time. I don't hear any loud like gadoosh when it lands. Feels pretty good. I would say it rides like a Nukeproof Scout. It took that really bumpy section really good, actually. Like, surprisingly good. So, we're gonna put this thing at Graham Hills and see how fast this thing is. But, initial impressions, positive. I mean, I just hop on this bike and I just ride it. And that's just 27.5, so still carries, you know, decent speed. Conditions are less than ideal because it hasn't rained in a few days and it's dry as hell, but more experimenting to come. Yeah, if people say the ride sucks, probably because the factory wheels, factory tires, the factory fork doesn't do this frame any favors. Yep. I'm at Graham here. Gonna try to set a time, do some jumps on it at the skills park. Final adjustments, at least for me riding. This is a 200 mil dropper. Look how much this thing needs to stick out just to have a normal pedaling length for me. That's crazy. I think this is pretty much at the point of diminishing return in terms of how short a seat tube is. Unless you're short-legged, but I mean, damn, look at that. This is like 3.5 inches above the collar, the 200 mil dropper on a medium frame. Yeah, I'm gonna climb on it. I'm sure this thing will climb good with such a steep seat angle. I actually had to slide the seat further back to give me more room in the cockpit. And we'll set a time after I warm up on it.
Whoa, a couple more laps.
Yeah, sure. A couple more laps. Just got here, right? All right. Who's leading?
I can't, I'm all the way to the right. Alright, I guess I'll lead. Ready?
Yeah. Up and... Oh shit, forgot to shift. Overshot that one. That was a good run. That was a good party run.
Yeah. When you whipping?
Oh, you were whipping so big on this bike.
Yeah.
You're getting used to it.
Yeah, I'm getting used to it now.
All right, we're gonna run the party train. Hold on, let me make sure I'm in the right gear. I am in the right gear. I am not gonna pedal strike this time.
Than me, than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll follow Jeff.
Ready?
Yeah.
You got it?
Woo! Now that's a party lap. This bike is sick. It's got like the best of the Hanzo ESD and the best of the Ragley stuff, man. I gotta do more riding to gather my thoughts, but as of now, yeah, this is definitely better than the Marley, for sure. All right, climbing the steep sections. This bike climbs way better than the Marley, like easily. Oh no, this thing is like skipping onto. Hold on. That thing was not going to the 51. But these really steep sections, I'm in such a more relaxed position. All right, let me find out if this thing needs to be tightened or not. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. My limit screw was not good. It wasn't set right on the low end. But man, this section feels so much easier to climb on such a steep seat angle. Much more comfortable position. I am not right on the tip of the saddle, leaning forward, trying to prevent the front wheels from coming off the ground. Pick my lines easier. So yeah, climbs way better. So just made it to the top. What is my impression of this thing on the climbs? This is probably the best climbing hardtail yet. It's got the geometry of the Hanzo ESD almost, but the weight of the Ragley. So it definitely climbs better than the Big Al. Well, except for the wheel size. But you can actually sit down and just winch up like you would on the Hanzo ESD without the 2-pound weight penalty. Super composed. You know, this bike only weighs 30.5 pounds as it sits. Very impressed. Now we'll see what kind of time it sends. All right, thoughts on the bike after the first lap down. This thing is fast. I won't know actually how fast it is because it's subjective versus objective with the timer, but it's super stable. In fact, this thing was building up speed like a freight train down the top half where it was running away from it. I had to brake a lot in the rocky sections because it was kind of getting out of control. I don't know if this is going to beat the Big Al as a mullet because this, like I said, feels like a 27.5 Hanzo ESD, and we gotta run it again. But drop it in. So what do I think of the San Quentin? After riding it in all different conditions, jumping it, setting a lap time. By the way, I will be linking the lap time footage and see where it ranks on the leaderboard in the description. But initially, I thought it being a 27.5 bike is what's really gonna hold it back. But I'm really digging the geometry on this bike. You know, I did overfork it by 10 millimeter to make it 63.5, so it's more in line with Hanzo ESD, and it really does feel like a lighter, more agile Hanzo ESD. And nobody really talked about how the frame itself rides because they're just riding it with like the crappy stock components. This is like custom build, and with the parts that's on there now, the Nukeproof wheels are known to ride pretty good. I got the inserts, I can run lower tire pressures. Got the Lyrik Ultimate fork. This bike actually rides really good. As I was blasting down all the rock gardens, I didn't feel beat up in any way, shape, or form. Landing on those big rock jumps, again, no issues with the impact on landing, on the drops, no issues of impact on landing. It really, I would say, it rides probably better than the Marley. And it rides like a Nukeproof Scout with the good geometry of the Hanzo ESD without the weight penalty. I mean, like if you don't need a 29er, this bike is really, really good. Also, this bike is the best climbing bike so far because of the seated position and the lack of weight, as well as initially the owner was intending to mullet the bike and put a 29er fork on, and I used to agree and say that, hey, that's a pretty good idea to do, but after spending more time on his bike, I don't think he should, because it's really, really good as it is. I'm afraid that putting a 29er in the front and raising the front end even more in the bottom bracket is gonna potentially ruin the agility of this bike and the cornering of this bike, because this bike actually corners really, really good. So, you know, that's my thoughts on this bike so far. That's my review. Any questions, just ask on the comments. Thank you. Bye. I hope I didn't screw up in the last turn. Let me go. Hold on. Let me jump the San Quentin on a good jump. I forgot to mention, because when I said that this bike rides like a 27.5 version of the Kona Hanzo ESD, that it is implied it is ready for the bike park. I would not hesitate to take this to any downhill park and ride all the same trails, and I wouldn't feel undergunned. So yeah, this thing will shred the bike park. Obviously, it's not open yet, but just trust me on this one, it's not gonna have a problem. This thing jumps really good. So natural in the air. Everything happens in like slow motion.